Class, in our last video, we learned the word reply. Now we're going to practice adding some suffixes to it. All right, so let's start with writing our base word one more time. Our word is reply. Class, how many syllables are in reply? You might remember. If not, just find out again and show me. Good, there are 2 syllables. What's the first syllable? Good, re. What kind of syllable is it? All right, nice work. If you said an open syllable, and so you can go ahead and write that first syllable, re. Say the sounds while you write them. All right, class, our second syllable is, what's our second syllable? Good, ply. What kind of syllable is that? Good, it's an open syllable. And since English words don't end in I, what are we going to use at the end? Excellent, we're going to use ya, I-E. So go ahead and write that second syllable, ply, say the sounds while you write them, and then go ahead and mark your word. All right, class, what's your first syllable in that word you just wrote? Good, re. And what kind of syllable is it? All right, if you didn't know before, now that you heard me say, you should be able to tell me it's an open syllable. All right, what's our second syllable? Good, ply. What kind of syllable is that? Good, it's an open syllable as well. And which I am I using? Excellent, since it's at the end of an English word, I cannot use it, I-E, I use ya, I-E, instead. All right, and then I hope we had these 2 marks, just the 2 underlines showing that our vowels were saying their names. All right, so this is our base word. Let's see. So, let's look at the phonogram at the end of our word. Class, what is this? All right, good, it's ya, I-E, or for today, for this lesson, we can call this Y. We have a rule for when we're adding suffixes to a word that ends with Y. All right, so for reply, we're going to be using our Y exchange rule. We haven't done this one for a while, which is why I thought we better give it its own video. All right, so our Y exchange rule, I don't think we need that there. Our Y exchange rule says that when we have a base word that ends with Y, if we're adding any suffix that does not start with I, then we're going to trade our Y for, what are we going to trade it for? All right, we're going to trade our Y for an I. Remember, if we're exchanging something, those things have to be equal. Right? I can't say, hey, I'll exchange you 1 dime for $1, right? Would you do that? I hope not. I know you haven't gotten to money in math yet, but that's not an exchange, right? Because those things aren't equal. But Y and I, we can trade our Y for an I because they make the same sounds. All right, so let's see that in action. Let's say we want to make this past tense. This is a regular verb. So what are we going to add to our regular verb to make it past tense? Excellent. We're going to add our ed-dit past tense ending. That's why I had us practice that earlier. All right, but ed-dit past tense ending, does that start with I? It doesn't. All right, so we don't use it. We don't use our Y exchange rule if our suffix starts with an I. But since ed-dit past tense ending does not start with an I, we're going to use our Y exchange rule. That means when we're writing replied, what are we going to trade our Y for? Excellent. We're going to trade it for an I, and then we'll add our suffix. So why don't you start with just writing reply, but since we're going to add the suffix, go ahead and do the Y exchange. So instead of this, what are you going to write? Good, I-E. All right, so go ahead on the next line. Just write reply, do the Y exchange, don't write the suffix yet. And of course, since we're not finished, we're not going to mark anything yet. All right. So class, so pause the video if you're not finished. All right, so our first syllable stays exactly the same, re. Our second syllable sounds the same, but we did our Y exchange rule. So what we have looks like this so far. It's okay to have I here because we're adding a suffix. It's not the end of our word. All right, class, which suffix are we going to add? Good, we're going to add ed, t, past tense ending. All right, wait, let's see if it gets its own syllable. Remember, it doesn't always. Replied. Is our edit going to get its own syllable? It sure isn't, so just go ahead and write it, right? Stuck on the end there, no syllable break. All right, so pause the video if you're not finished. All right, this is what our word should look like, replied. We just used our Y exchange rule and then added our suffix. All right, so let's see. What do we need to mark in the first syllable? Right, we need to mark our E because it's saying its name. What's the first thing that I need to mark in my second syllable? Is this saying its name? Is this saying I in replied? It sure is, so we need to underline it. And how am I going to mark this? All right, we know we need to underline it in replied. Which of its sounds is it saying? Is it saying ed, d, or t? Show me on your fingers in replied. All right, good. It's saying its second sound, so we need to mark our ed, d, t with both of these. All right, let's read our word now. Good, replied. So all we did there is we traded our Y for an I and then we added our suffix. All right, the next word is replies. What's the word, class? Good, replies. Mrs. Hillock always replies quickly to my emails. Replies. All right, so we're going to add, we're adding a suffix. It does not start with an I, so we're going to use our Y exchange rule. So once again, go ahead and write reply, but since we're going to add the suffix, go ahead and do the Y exchange. Don't write anything after that. All right, pause the video when you're, or pause the video if you're not finished. So what we have so far is reply. It's okay that there's an I at the end. We actually need an I at the end because we need to do our Y exchange rule because our word isn't finished yet. All right, replies. Class, what sound do we hear after? What sound would we need to add to reply to make it into replies? All right, we know we're going to have to add the Z sound, but which Z is it going to be? Good, Z. But this is why the, all right, so anytime we do our Y exchange rule and we're adding an S, we have to do a silent E first, and then our Z. All right. So after reply, still the same syllable, because I don't have a separate vowel sound, I'm going to add a silent E. Go ahead and add a silent E. And now we'll add a S. All right, this one was trickier than this past one because we've got that silent E. But anytime we're doing our Y exchange and we're adding this, we can't add just this. It's always silent E and then that. So we can remember that pattern. We had that when we did the word tries as well. All right, class, what do I mark in my first syllable? Excellent, my E, because it's saying its name. What's the first thing I mark in my second syllable? I hope you told me I-E, because it's saying its name. We need to underline it. How do I mark this? It's silent. Perfect. Double underline. Replies. How do I mark this? Good. It's saying its second sound. All right. Let's read our word. Good. Replies. The tricky thing here is that silent E. All right. Now we'll write one more. We'll add one more suffix. We're going to make it into replying. I am replying to her email right now. Replying. How many syllables? Replying. I hope you're showing me this. Remember, because ing is a vowel suffix, so it's going to get its own syllable. All right, but class, what letter does the suffix ing start with? It starts with an I, doesn't it? This is our suffix. Are we going to use our Y exchange rule in replying? We're not. Why not? Oh, because we don't use it if the suffix starts with an I? Excellent. So why don't you go ahead and write the first two syllables, reply. Don't use the Y exchange rule. Say the sounds while you write them. Now go ahead and add your suffix ing. Make sure it gets its own syllable. All right, class, what's your first syllable? Good, re. How about your second syllable? Good, ply. Do I do the Y exchange? No, I sure don't. And my third syllable. Good, ing. All right, what do I need to mark in my first syllable? Excellent at E because it's saying its name. How about what about my second syllable? Good, I underline my Y because it's saying its vowel name. And how about my third syllable? Good. All right, let's read our word we just wrote. Good, replying. All right, class. So remember, we use the Y exchange rule anytime we're adding a suffix to a word that ends with Y, unless the suffix starts with I, because we don't ever have two I's next to each other in English. It doesn't look right. So if our suffix ends with I, then we don't do the Y exchange rule. All right, great work. I'll see you in the next video.